Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today is April 30th, 2020, and coronavirus has been with us and has been kicking our ass. Sad thing. But we're getting to a point where common sense is now starting to prevail. And when I say common sense is starting to prevail, I mean the powers that be are starting to come to their senses and realize we gotta open shit up. Despite all the pushback from certain corners, they're finally going to start doing what makes sense. However, I don't think it will last. And I don't think it will last not because the government's going to come there and say, oh, we want to shut down again out of nowhere, but because the government will be forced to shut things down again. Why? Very simple. Yesterday, not 2 days ago, I was at a park somewhere practicing. I play sports: football, basketball, soccer, baseball, boxing, Muay Thai, and Jiu-Jitsu. So I was at a field practicing alone. I found an area where there were no people. And I said, let me go train in that area. What happens? All these dumb shit motherfuckers decide they want to come next to me. I yelled at them and said, get the fuck away from me. And they were shocked. A little while later, a bunch of motherfuckers, I don't know, Mexicans or whatever the fuck they were, come onto the field and decide they're going to play soccer. You know, any sport that you play requires proximity. If I'm playing soccer, if I'm playing basketball, I'm going to be within 3 fucking feet of you. But these stupid motherfuckers are so fucking dumb. They got no fucking sense. And that's exactly what's going to fucking happen. The governments, they sat there and said, well, you know, we don't like to constrain people like this, so let's let them live. Our economy is suffering, so let's open it up. But I guarantee you, these stores are going to open. You're going to have crowds of people in there. You're going to have crowds of people outside. And instead of maintaining that 6 feet, they're going to bunch up. I ride the bus. I was going to catch a bus at a certain stop. I looked at it. I said, fuck it. I'll walk half a mile and catch a bus elsewhere. Because at that fucking stop, you had all these dumb shit motherfuckers that decided to bunch up. So, governments are going to open shit up. And when governments open shit up, these dumb shit people are going to bunch up together, and the virus is going to spread, and it's going to be even worse than it was before. The reason New York was so hard hit is because New York is congested. Now, here's where the stupidity of a stay-at-home order in New York comes in. If you've ever been to New York, most people live in high-rise apartment buildings. They share the same ventilation system. They share the same elevators. They share the same laundry rooms. So you got all these people bunched up together, and some of them are sick. How the fuck do you expect that not everyone will get sick? I guarantee you, if New York had not forced all of its citizens to bunch up together, stay at home, there'd probably be a lot less deaths in New York. That is a problem with fucking politicians. They think they the shit, but they ain't shit. So, we're gonna open up. And I guarantee you, the dumb motherfuckers are gonna go out there, they're gonna bunch up again. They're gonna start throwing house parties with 20, 30, 100 people in there bunched up. They're gonna start going to coffee shops, wherever, bunching up because they're so fucking lonely. They can't be alone, they're so fucking lonely. Little insecure bitch nerds. And that shit just gonna spike back up. The problem with a democracy is that the dumb people have rights. That's a problem of democracy. In my opinion, the dumb motherfuckers should be shot, and the world would be a lot better. The dumb motherfuckers are not poor motherfuckers, rich motherfuckers, white motherfuckers, Asian motherfuckers, black motherfuckers. They come across a board. And the problem now is that there's more dumb motherfuckers in this American society than there is intelligent motherfuckers. And it's the dumb motherfuckers that are fucking shit up. Who are the dumb motherfuckers? The nerds. Oh, I ain't talking about bookworm motherfuckers. I ain't talking about smart motherfuckers. I'm talking about the nerds who play video games all day. The nerds who spend all their time on social media. The nerds who think they're somehow special and they ain't fucking shit. The nerds who can't talk to people, they'd rather text. Those are the new fucking nerds. Unfortunately, these nerds are now in the majority. And so the intelligent people, we're suffering because of the stupidity of the dumb motherfucking nerds. It's a sad thing. It's a sad thing. Government, I can't be mad at you. I know I'd be pissed as shit in 2 months when you close shit down again, but I can't fault you. You've done what you could. It's the dumb shit, nerd, video game playing, Facebook sitting, Instagram sitting, vain ass, conceited, worthless piece of shit, entitled rat motherfuckers. That's the fuck ups. But this is what I want to talk about because I'm happy. I had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It was nice outside. I got to run my soccer drills, quarterback drills, basketball drills. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. But I want to talk about this. A lot of people, from the president to governors, to the Fed Reserve Chairman, to the Treasury Secretary, to the Speaker of the House, to senators, a lot of people have not really thought through what's about to come. And that is very fucking frightening. Let me spell the picture for you. In 2019, the U.S. gross domestic product, and the gross domestic product captures all economic activity within the country. So the total economic activity in terms of transactions, buying, selling, so forth, in the U.S. for 2019 was $21.4 trillion. In 2019, the U.S. deficit was $984 billion. U.S. spending was $4.5 trillion. $1 trillion of that was Social Security. $0.6 trillion of that was Medicare. $1.1 trillion was for other mandatory spending. This is spending that the government is obligated to incur. All right. Discretionary spending, which is what you see the Congress going back and forth, we want this, we want this, we want this, we want this, came to $1.2 trillion. $700 billion of that, more than half, was for the Defense Department. And then payments, interest payments on outstanding U.S. debt came to $0.36 trillion. On the income side, revenue from individual income tax payments was $1.7 trillion. Revenue from corporate income taxes was $0.2 trillion. Revenue from Social Security and other payroll taxes, such as if you look at your pay stub, you might see FUTA, you might see Social Security, you might see all these little things. You'll see federal income taxes, state income taxes, and a bunch of little itemized things. All those itemized things added up together for all working Americans came to $1.2 trillion. Excise taxes, that's what you charge for goods coming in to the country, came to $0.1 trillion. Estate and gift taxes came to $0.01 trillion, and miscellaneous revenue items were $0.1 trillion. So total revenue was $3.35 trillion. Total expenditures were about $4.5 trillion. That's where you get the $900 billion deficit. Now you need to understand when the U.S. government doesn't have enough money to fund its expenditures, it borrows money. So that deficit is borrowed money. So we had 3.3 trillion. We needed to spend 4.5 trillion. So we had to go out there and borrow 900 billion. The number's a little bit off, but the difference is 984 billion that we had to borrow in 2019. Let's just say $1 trillion. You borrow that money, or the government borrows that money, by issuing debt. So when you hear about bonds, notes, treasury bonds, treasury notes, money market securities, all right? These are instruments that the government uses to borrow money. So basically, I'm the government, I sell you a piece of paper, it's called a bond. It has a denomination, maybe $1,000, $10,000. And every year, so it might be a 10-year bond, So every year for 10 years, actually every 6 months, because these are semi-annual interest payments. So every 6 months for 10 years, I pay you 5% interest on that bond. After 10 years, I redeem the bond. So I give you back your $10,000 and you give me back that piece of paper. So right now, we're standing at about, so if we look at 2019, the U.S. debt was 22.7 trillion. Let's just say 23 trillion. If we assume a 10% coupon, and you know, in financial terms, when you're dealing with bonds, you'll deal with yields, coupons, discount rate, and so forth. Coupon is basically what the interest payment is on an annual basis on that principal. If you have a $27 trillion debt and you're paying 10% a year in interest, you're paying 2.7 trillion a year in interest. I want you to think about that for a second. If the U.S. government collects 3.35 trillion in 2020, but we have to pay 2.7 trillion, not paying off the principal, just servicing the debt. 3.3 minus 2.7, that means we only have $600 billion left after we've paid off the interest. Now, mandatory spending, which is spending the government must incur by law, is 2.7 trillion. So once we've done all the Social Security, Medicare, all that shit, we still owe 2.1 trillion. We have not even gotten to discretionary spending. That's as of January, not now, as of January. Over the course of a month, we have added, at a minimum, $3 trillion to the deficit. That's just the stimulus money. The Fed said we're going to buy up assets. So that's probably another 2 trillion. All in all, when all is said and done, we would have added about $6 to $8 trillion to the debt. 6 to 8 trillion. We owed 23 trillion. We added 6 to 8 trillion, so let's just say we now owe $30 trillion. The U.S. government now owes $30 fucking trillion. Do you understand the dire situation this country is in right now? That means that if we just go back to January 2019, owing 30 trillion at a 10% coupon rate, that is 3 trillion a year in interest payments. Revenue is 3.35 trillion. So that means once we've paid off the interest, not even the principal, we only have $300 billion. Mandatory spending is 2.7 trillion. Discretionary spending is 1.2 trillion. So what's the deficit? You're making 3 trillion in interest. You're collecting 3.3 trillion in revenue. You got 0.3 trillion left over. Your spending is 4.5 trillion. You're talking about a deficit in excess of 4 trillion. In excess of 4 trillion in January. Why do I say in January? Let's think about it. Let's look at the sources of revenue. Individual income taxes. 30 million Americans are unemployed. 30 million. 30 fucking million. I don't have the exact numbers, but the population is 300 million. Let's assume half of them are children. So you have 150 million adults. Let's assume about 30 million of those are retirees. So you have 120 million adults who can work. 30 million. 30 million are unemployed. A quarter, 25% of the U.S. workforce is unemployed. Fuck this 10% unemployment number. The unemployment number is 25 fucking percent. What does that do to the revenue equation? When you had 3-4% unemployment, so you got 120 million, 4% unemployed, that's about 5 million. So you got 150 million people working. They pay their income taxes, they pay their Social Security and other taxes. That's 2.9 trillion. It's all good. All right? Reduce that 2.9 trillion by 30%. Let's just call it 3 trillion. Reduce it by 30%. Now you have 2 trillion in income from payroll taxes and individual income taxes. 2 trillion. Corporate income taxes, well, 0.2 trillion is 2019. Companies ain't making money. They're borrowing money from the government just to pay their workers. So now you're going to see that 0.2 trillion probably go down to 0.1 trillion. Excise taxes, there's no trade going on. So that 0.1 trillion probably goes down to 0.05 trillion. Basically what I'm saying is the 3.3 trillion revenue figure in May of 2020 is probably dropped down to 1.5 to 2 trillion. We've lost about half of our fucking federal revenue. I have not even started to talk about states or municipalities. So now, spending is going to go up. All these stimulus shit is going to go up. Social Security is going to stay the same. Medicare is going to stay the same. Other mandatory expenditures is probably going to stay the same at 2.7 trillion. Our revenue now is probably 1.8 trillion. We can't even meet discretionary mandatory spending. Then you add discretionary spending. So instead of running a 4 trillion deficit, let's do the numbers. You got 4.5 trillion in government expenditures. Add on all these fiscal stimuluses and all this shit, that's probably now about 8 trillion. 8 trillion the government is going to spend in 2020. And is going to collect about 1.8 trillion in revenue. Ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at deficits of at least 6 to 8 trillion dollars. Never before has this country ran a deficit in excess of 1.5 trillion. And at the time when we had a deficit of about 1.5 trillion, that's when we were in Iraq and Afghanistan. We're looking at deficits of about 7 to 8 trillion. Are you starting to understand what I'm saying? If you had a job and you made $100,000 a year, and you had a house, you paid a mortgage on that house. Your mortgage came to, let's say, $1,500 a month, $20,000 a year. He had 2 nice cars. You know, you got a wife, kids, whatever. So he got 2 nice cars. Payments on those came to about $15,000 a year. That's $35,000. Got some credit cards. Let's just say you're living an extravagant lifestyle. You're making $100,000 a year, and you're spending $100,000 a year. At the end of the year, you got nothing. But you can only spend $100,000 a year. There's no way in hell you're going to go to a bank and say, hey, Mr. Banker, I want a $30,000 loan. And the banker will say, what do you need that loan for? He said, well, I make $100,000 a year, but I spend $130,000 a year. So I need that loan to cover that gap. That banker will sit back, stretch, scratch his chin, pick his nose, spit, look at you, and say, the door's over there. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. We, the U.S., in 2020 will probably generate about 1.5 to 2 trillion in revenue. We will have expenditures in excess of 8 trillion. And we go to the market and say, hey, lend me 7 trillion. And they lend it. If you have not realized it by now, the U.S. is bankrupt. There's no fucking company. There's no fucking individual. There is no fucking nation aside from the U.S. that can maintain this financial situation. We are bankrupt. And we are hell of bankrupt. Was it necessary? I don't know. I don't know. I've read many things. I watched a YouTube video and I read some articles where some people who actually work in hospitals say, well, whenever someone came in and they were exhibiting respiratory issues, they were classified as COVD-19. Whether or not they tested positive, they were classified as COVD-19. When they died, it was recorded as a COVD-19 death. This is what I'd like to see happen now. Autopsies. All those people that died, we need autopsies. We need to determine the exact cause of death. The virus is a bitch. But I honestly, right now, I'm starting to question whether all those people that died because of the virus. If I had a pre-existing heart condition, my heart condition killed me, not the virus. If I had a pre-existing lung condition, my lung condition killed me, not the virus. If I had an immunosuppressive disorder, which means my immune system is compromised, that's what killed me and not the virus. There's been so much fucking shit information surrounding this. I think we really need to do a thorough investigation to determine what really happened. Now you may say, well, yeah, we'll run 8 trillion deficits till the end of the year. And then next year, we'll pick back up, probably drop the deficits to about 4 trillion. Then the next year, pick back up some more, probably dropping to about 2 trillion. It's not going to happen like that. It's not going to happen like that for 3 reasons. Number one, if I was making $15 an hour, 40-hour work week, that's $600 a week. But now I claim unemployment. And just in the basic unemployment, I get $300. But the government gave me an extra $600. So now I'm making $900 a week doing nothing. I used to wake up early in the morning, go out there, do whatever I was doing, manual labor, and I make $600 a week. Now I sit my ass at home and play video games all day and get on Facebook all day, and I make $900 a week. Why the fuck am I going to go back to work? Am I stupid? Am I stupid? So this is what's going to happen. When the economy opens back up, I fucking guarantee you that less than 30% of those 30 million who are now unemployed, that is 9 million, less than 9 million will go back to work. 21 million will continue collecting government money for 6 months. You're talking about 21 million people who are now out of the labor force for 6 months. More likely than not, around October, September, they're going to extend the unemployment benefits. It's right around election time. They're going to extend it. It benefits the Democrats. It benefits the Republicans. So you're talking about going into March or April of 2021 with about 20 to 25 million Americans not participating in the labor force. Think about that. What are companies going to have to do? If I'm a company and I had 100 employees and I paid each of them an average of $10 an hour, now those 100 employees don't want to come back to work, what the fuck am I going to do? Companies are going to have to increase wages. So now, whereas I paid you $10 an hour, now I'm going to have to pay $12, $13, $14 an hour just to attract people to come work for me. Because my former employees don't want to come back to work. So what does that do? That means the payroll taxes and the income taxes collected from individuals are going to be stunted for at least 12 months. Companies will not be generating as much profit as they were before. So corporate taxes will be reduced. We are in a fucked up situation. And no one is talking about this. They're trying to delay the opening more and more. That will only make it worse. Because let's say you push full opening out to October. That means those many more months that the government misses out on revenue and has to increase expenditures. This is where you know that politicians have never ran a business. Because when you run a business, your eye is on profitability. How do you become profitable? Increase revenues, control costs. Not necessarily cut them, but control them. You don't just reduce revenue and increase costs, you'll be out of business. But that's what these politicians are doing. Now, you ask yourself, Why? Why did this come to be? What could possibly be the benefit of shutting down the country? Was it necessary to shut down the country? Influenza, with a vaccine, has a 1.5% mortality rate. With a vaccine. We're now hearing that based on antibody testing, that a lot more people were infected than have tested positive. So if you factor in all the people that were infected and all the people that died without a vaccine, COVD-19 has a lower mortality rate than influenza. Yet, do we shut down the country every time flu season comes around? But we shut down the fucking world for a virus that is less lethal than influenza. Why is that? Why is that? There's a lot of questions to be answered. They talk of a vaccine. Here's a problem with vaccines. I have a virus. It's killing people. I inject you with the virus. Your body fights the virus. Now you have immunity. That's what a vaccine is. The problem is each virus has a different genome, DNA sequence, whatever you want to call it. So when a new virus comes around, I gotta inject you again. When a new virus comes around, I gotta inject you again. Are these scientists stupid? If you understand that a virus, all viruses function in the same manner. They attach to a cell, they penetrate that cell, they penetrate the nucleus of that cell, and then force the nucleus of that cell to replicate the virus building blocks. So, why don't these scientists sit back and say, well, hold up. What if we created a generic virus? And this generic virus would either stop any virus, this genetic vaccine would either stop any virus from penetrating a cell, or if the virus has already penetrated the cell, stop that virus from penetrating the nucleus of that cell. Then it don't matter how many variants of viruses come out tomorrow. I give you this shit, ain't no fucking virus gonna fuck with you. Because can't no virus get into your cells? Can't no virus get into the nucleus of your cell? So we don't have to worry about this new strain, because I guarantee you. We get a vaccine for COVID-19 tomorrow. Next year, we're going to have another virus, COVID-20. The year after that, COVID-21. We're going to keep shutting shit down? Come on, scientists. Use your fucking minds. Stop trying to target individual viruses and disrupt the process of viral infection. That's how you defeat the enemy. You dumb fucks. There has been the largest transfer of wealth in the history of the world that took place over a period of 2 months. In the stock market, there's a buyer, there's a seller. I buy a stock for $20. It goes up to $30. I sell it. I make $10 profit. You're the buyer now. I'm out. I got my money. Now you're hoping that it's going to go up some more so you can make some money. All's good. The converse. I buy a stock for $40. It drops down to $20. I'm like, holy motherfucking shit. I lost half my money. What if it drops down to $5? I might lose more. I sell. You buy at $20. 2 days later, that stock goes up to $60. You make money. I've lost $20. You've made $40. I have transferred my wealth to you. When the market was dropping, a lot of people were losing money. But there are those who sat on the side and waited for it to drop. Then when they saw all these things coming out, they said, let me buy. And when they bought, it went up. You lost money, I made money. The wealth that you lost is the wealth that I gained. I encourage some investigative journalist to go out there and determine just how much transfer of wealth has occurred during this pandemic. There's some people out there that have become very, very, very fucking rich. Very rich. Jeff Bezos, his net worth is probably 200 billion right now. He probably made 40 to 50 billion. Listen, Amazon in March was about $1,500 a share. Amazon right now is at about $2,500 a share. He's made at least 50 to 60 billion fucking dollars off of this shit. It's just fishy, man. It's just fishy. It is just fishy. I encourage all the intelligent people who have access to data, to information, do some deep digging. Do some deep digging. Number one, what did these people really die of? I doubt all of them died of COVID-19. My suspicion is about 30 to 50% of these people died of something other than COVID-19. COVID-19 may have been a catalyst. It may have speeded things up, but I doubt it was a primary cause of death. We need to find out about that. Number two, as crowded as New York is, as crowded as New York living conditions are, why the fuck did the governor of New York and the mayor of New York force all those people to bunch up, knowing that that would further accelerate contagion, the spread of the disease? Why? Were they thinking or were they not thinking? Number 3. Who really profited from this catastrophe? Number 4. Why were they, the talking heads, so eager to downplay any possibility of a cure? Number 5. Why are they so determined to shut the world down? Number 6. Why are these scientists not looking at a way to block that virus from penetrating the cell as opposed to addressing the specific genome of that virus? I think it's a money thing. Because if I'm a pharmaceutical and I came out with a product that would prevent any virus from infecting a cell, from penetrating a cell, and that's only one vaccine I could sell. But if I have a vaccine for influenza, for COVD-19, for COVD-20, for COVD-21, and I could sell many vaccines. And you got to get all of them. That's more money for me. The profit motive from the medical, insurance, pharmaceutical industrial complex. Your life is only worth the money I could get from you. Look, people, this shit should never, ever fucking happen again. Your voters, your influential people, your all this, all that. We need congressional investigations. We need independent watchdogs. We need trial lawyers. We need these questions answered. We need to understand what the fuck happened such that it can never, ever fucking happen again. There are people out there playing with you, playing with me, playing with everyone. We're little fucking ants. And they don't give a fuck. This shit should never happen again. Thank you. God bless. And motherfucker, good night, bitch.